So, two fun new kits unveiled by Games Workshop today. We've got a rather spectacular looking Emperor's Children Praetor, and the full kit reveal for the leagues of Votann Hernkyn Pioneers, featuring an attack bite-like construct with a rather large gun. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're talking about two fun new kit reveals from Games Workshop. A fairly hefty bit of news for a Thursday afternoon. Let's talk about the Emperor's Children Praetor first, and then move on to the anti-grav gun bikes of the leagues of Votann. So first up, as part of their Horus Heresy Thursday reveal series, we've got a new Emperor's Children Praetor. We did get a power armoured one revealed last week. With Forge World's usual releases, we typically get a power armoured one paired with a Terminator one, so this would appear to be the counterpart of that. From the reactions I've seen for this guy so far, most people seem to be very pleased with him. Really quite nice stylised Terminator armour is rarely going to be an unpopular thing. He's looking all very nice in his Heresy era Emperor's Children colour scheme with plenty of gold and bird iconography. Perhaps the most notable feature of this guy is that the helmet seems sort of stylised with a giant bird's beak, perhaps further cementing him as a leader for their Phoenix Guard Terminators. I think in general Forge World have been doing very well with these Praetor series, really good at capturing a few of the cool bits of each legion, and they offer some nice conversion material for Warhammer 40k commanders as well. I think this guy could be just as happy being a Raven Guard Terminator captain for the 41st millennium, and I'm sure he could be happily adapted to other legions and chapters as well. Armament wise, it looks like he's got a power sword falchion type thing in his left arm, and then a combi grav weapon in his right. I guess that'd need either replacing or running as a combi plasma if you're running in 40k, I guess, though I suppose the look perhaps isn't too dissimilar. Otherwise, Games Workshop have given us a few other images of the same model. Here's him from the side firing that combi grav towards the enemy. They've got a shot of the back of the armour, and a good look at the stylised blade, very iconic looking for the Emperor's Children, and I think it fits in just fine. I think he's looking pretty nice alongside his power armoured variant that you can see here over his left shoulder. I'm sure they're going to be pretty popular choices for Emperor's Children commanders, both in Heresy and in Warhammer 40k. I must admit the sheer amount of kits and support that some of the legions have in Heresy really does put the 40k range to shame, particularly Emperor's Children that haven't seen the big overdue rework that Death Guard, Thousand Suns and soon World Eaters will have as well. I guess you can always borrow a few kits from the Heresy, but it is a bit unfortunate just how nice some of the Heresy line is for the Emperor's Children, when in 40k they're represented by some fairly ancient combination resin and plastic kits. In any case, I think that big purple Phoenix guy will be pretty popular with Emperor's Children collectors. Let me know what you think of the model down in the comments below. Of course though, that isn't all in terms of miniature reveals today. As well as Emperor's Children, we've also got Hernkyn Pioneers as well. The leagues of Votann Grav Trikes, a biker and scouting type unit for the new squats. This one's basically the full unit reveal for a unit that we already knew was coming. I think they showed off the one on the right in one of their previous Warhammer previews online. Though I would say that maybe out of the Votann previews, this unit's maybe been one of the less well received ones perhaps. I think a lot of people might have preferred some big chunky wheels on these things as opposed to the slightly weird looking grav plates sticking out at odd angles. Though I do think after seeing the whole unit ranked up, maybe it's not quite as much of an issue. They perhaps look a little bit more uniform and squadron-like once there's more of them, though I guess that will be obvious. Games Workshop have shown off two new models today though, and also shown us a couple of alternative parts that you can use to arm them with as well, and given us a little bit more detail as to how this unit might work for the leagues of Votann. Models wise, these are the two new ones. I'd say perhaps most striking is the one on the left. This one is a two-man bike with a driver and a gunner, kind of reminiscent of Space Marine attack bikes, and to be honest really quite a throwback to the really ancient squat trikes that they had, where they had one driver and one gunner on those as well. I think maybe the trike analogy with the original squats from ages back maybe wasn't quite as obvious on the single rider that we'd seen before, but with this dual rider setup it does look a lot more noticeable. As with the one that we'd seen before, the armour plating is really quite curved and kind of reminiscent of older style Imperial technology, things like Castellan robots, which they did mention in their preview. Weapons wise, besides the big gun, this guy's got a bolt revolver, I think that is, some sort of heavy stubber autocannon type thing, and apparently the big gun on the top is called a high las rotary cannon. Sounds like that's going to be an option for chewing through a whole bunch of infantry very, very quickly. I think out of the three miniatures, the gun bike does look the best to be honest. I think that kinsman person with the hood and the greatcoat on does look really quite cool with that. Very menacing, bent over and chugging away with that massive laser Gatling gun. I'm going to guess, seeing as it looks like they'll be sold in squads of 3, it'll probably just be one of those between 3 of them, as opposed to being able to field entirely independent squadrons like the Space Marine attack bikes can. Otherwise, for the other new rider on the right, I think he's perhaps not quite so dissimilar from the other one that we'd seen. The other one had a bolt shotgun. This one appears to have a bolt revolver. And equipment-wise, perhaps the most interesting looking thing out of this one is the great big comms array on the back. It sounds like from the article that they mentioned that might have some sort of in-game effect. Alongside them in the article, we did get a fair few new lore details, and maybe a few little hints as to how they might play in-game. As you could probably tell just by looking at the models, the Hernkyn Pioneers function as the scouts and explorers for the Leagues of Votann, though in times of war they're a little bit more direct damage as a type of unit, as opposed to doing scouting and outflanking type things, and serve as a bit more of an armoured cavalry role, breaking the front line of the enemy forces with some heavy firepower at close range. Model-wise, a lot of them are equipped in slightly lighter void suits compared with the Hearthkin Warriors. Nowhere near as much armour on these guys, though I guess that's partly made up for by the bikes. The bikers themselves seem to be fairly well equipped with things like those shotguns, bolt revolvers, and other small arms, and at least by looks alone, that great big gun that's mounted on the back of the attack bike trike thing, that does look like it's going to be by far the most dangerous thing in the squad. The one that we saw earlier is a high-las rotary laser, and they said that the high-las acronym stands for high-yield laser basically. We've seen a few of the other high-las type weapons on other Votann units. I think one of the Ironkin in the Hearthkin Warriors unit had it. It does sound like quite a lot of the Votann weapons are basically going to be Imperial weapons, but better, more innovations and more development over the millennia rather than stagnancy. As well as that, this picture basically confirms that there's an alternate build for that great big attack bike gun. This one looks like it's a chunky looking iron weapon of some sort, probably going to be a bit better at chewing through light vehicles and heavy infantry potentially, kind of similar to the ones that the Tau can field. Again, I must say I like the look of the gunner there. In this shot you can also see some business-like looking red goggles above a great big bushy beard. So let me know what you think of the new reveals today then. What do you make of the Hernkyn Pioneers now the entire squad's been revealed? And what do you make of the fancy new bird Terminator Praetor for the Emperor's Children? As always, I look forward to hearing all your thoughts down in the comments below, and feel free to point out anything that I've missed. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I will keep up with Games Workshop's news and releases for 40k. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does also have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that down in the video description. The channel's Patreon is what allows me to keep on making these videos quite so regularly, so if you are enjoying a lot, any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.